for those who are unfamiliar, where is R-Hanska, and how would you describe your city where you live and District 15B?
Well, I live in southern Brown County. Lake R-Hanska is a prairie lake, 8 miles long, and we have a home on the lake, which is really a result of redistricting. Back when I first ran for office in 2008, started serving in 2009, I ran for my farm address, which is in Watonwan County, but the northern few townships of Watonwan County were included along with Brown County and much of Redwood County in the then 23B, if I remember the number correctly, district. When redistricting happened after my first 2 terms, if I would have stayed and run for my farm address, I would have been running against a fellow Republican. Tony Cornish was in the legislature at the time. And that seemed like a bad idea to have Republican on Republican conflicts. So my wife and I sat down, had a chat, said, you know, we representing Brown County has worked out well. Let's see if we can't find a place to live in Brown County that's reasonably convenient for us. We started looking around. There was a retired couple living on the lake that were ready to move on to another place to live, and we heard it kind of through the grapevine and sat down with them at their kitchen table, and they agreed to sell their place to us. So we've been living on the lake since then, and in fact we are currently in the process of remodeling that lake home, and it's going to be our only home down the road. We've been kind of split between the farm and the lake, but as I work my way completely out of farming, we can then be completely at the lake.
So are you still farming nowadays, or?
Yes, I'm still actively farming. I am cutting back this year and potentially pulling out the year after.
And that's kind of the question I wanted to ask. Was it difficult in your time here, being a farmer and also being here at the legislature?
Well, you have to accommodate it. I'm very fortunate that I have very good help on the farm. I have people that are able to carry the load when I'm not there, especially in the spring season when we're here busy at the legislature. It's really impossible for me to be on the farm when I need to be necessarily. So I share a lot of equipment with a neighbor, and his son works for both of us, and they get the work done when I can't be there, and I really appreciate that. Without them, I wouldn't be able to serve, frankly, and farm at the same time. Fall is a little bit different story because we're not so busy here at the legislature. I can do a lot of work on the farm in the fall season and continue to do that with the harvest. And we do have hogs on the farm, so there's a lot of hog manure to be spread in the form of fertilizer for the next year's crop.
And my sources say also you're a former music teacher. Is that true?
I am. I graduated from Gustavus Adolphus College with a degree in instrumental music education. Nice. Was a band director. I worked for 4 years in the teaching field, yeah, I've done a lot of music over the years.
What was your favorite instrument?
Well, I'm a percussionist, so I play the drums and other percussion instruments. But of course, as a band director, you've got to teach them all. So I was barely proficient at a lot of different instruments.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's happening here or what's coming up this legislative session. As we sit here today in mid-January, the most recent budget forecast projects a $2.4 billion surplus for the current biennium, but a projected structural imbalance of nearly the same amount next biennium. What was your reaction to those numbers?
Well, not really surprised, frankly, with the amount of spending that went on the first year of this biennium. We knew that the surplus had been drained. And in fact, as we look forward to this second year of the biennium and ahead to the following biennium, now that inflation has been incorporated into the calculations, which was a demand of the DFL, there really isn't even that much money around. If you accommodate inflation, it's going to eat up a lot of what's in that short-range surplus and make that deficit in the next biennium even steeper.
And Governor Walz just recently proposing a $982 million capital investment package for the upcoming session. Republican votes will be needed if they want that to get passed. How do you feel about that proposal, and what do you think makes sense bonding-wise this session?
Well, as a former chair of bonding, which is a few terms ago now, I have a pretty deep understanding of how bonding works and also how it doesn't work, because the bill, my second year of that biennium when I was chair, The bill was derailed at the last minute over in the Senate. They tried to send it back to the House. Of course, it didn't make it. Now, that bill, or the structure of that bill, was passed in the following year, so my work did not go unrewarded. But, you know, as you said, it requires Republican votes to pass a bill. And so we need to negotiate in good faith. But Republicans, I think, will be expecting something in a more bipartisan approach to other issues beyond bonding in order to get this work done. Now, exactly what that incorporates, I don't think anybody knows at this point, because we're just at the beginning of session. But as we work our way through session, I'm guessing we will come across some issues where there's some room for compromise and bipartisan work, and that will be influenced by the potential of a bonding bill.
And you are the Republican lead for the House Elections Committee. A lot was passed in terms of legislation last year that ultimately became law, most of it without Republican support. This being an election year, what are your thoughts on election policy in Minnesota? And is there anything that you'd like to see addressed further to ensure that voters and the state's elections are fair and secure?
Well, first I have to say how disappointed I am that an elections bill was passed without bipartisan support and signed by the governor. We've had a tradition in the past here in Minnesota that election bills are only passed and signed when they have bipartisan support. That didn't happen in this first year of the biennium. The bill that passed was passed with only DFL votes and signed by the governor. That sets us up for election conflict down the road, I'm afraid, and that worries me because elections are too important to become a partisan political issue. There were elements of that bill that made sense and we could have supported, but there are also elements that we could not support. How that affects this year's work, I don't expect a lot of activity in elections this year, although at least one provision of that bill has been called into question constitutionally. The foreign influence piece has been stopped by the courts and will probably be found unconstitutional. I don't know that for sure. I'm not a judge or a lawyer. As far as the impact on this year's election, it's in some ways made it easier to vote, which is not necessarily a bad thing. How you do that, the details of how that's accomplished are where we had some real serious conflict. But I'm encouraging everyone to vote. That's the way the democracy works, right? And I'm also encouraging my colleagues in the Republican Party to use the tools that are there and make sure that every Republican casts their ballot. The downside, the risky side of this is that we reduce confidence in our election system because there are gaps or opportunities where we question the validity of the vote. That's discouraging, and for some, the most discouraging thing I heard in the last election cycle was a voter I was talking to who said, well, I'm not going to cast my vote because I don't think it matters. And that to me was the last thing I wanted to hear. I want voters to have confidence that their vote is counted properly and that every vote is counted properly. Minnesota has a good reputation. I don't think we're on the verge of disaster there or anything, but I think we have done some damage to people's confidence in elections, and we need to reinforce that. We want people to believe, and strongly believe, that the elections are fair and that their vote is properly counted.
And what would you say needs to happen when we get to that time in May to call the 2024 legislative session a success?
The 2024 session, I don't frankly have a lot of high expectations. I would guess there will be some repair work on some of the bills that were passed last year, and I think that's good. I guess so. One definition of success would be that we had done repair work on bills that were poorly constructed and got them in shape where they actually work, and hopefully they work in a way that we as Republicans think that we've made improvements. I think of things like the marijuana bill, where there seems to be a lot of turmoil and question about how is this going to actually function. We need to clarify that. I know there's a mistake in the tax bill that needs to be fixed, and hopefully there's some other things in the tax bill that can be clarified. The paid family leave proposal is huge and expensive, and still has a lot of question marks surrounding it. That probably be harder work to do any repair work there, but you know, I believe in good government. I think government should function efficiently, should function well and clearly and transparently, and there's some cloudiness in what was passed in last year's session. So I guess for me, success would be putting things in good working order before we end the 2024 session.
All right, Representative Torkelson, thank you very much.
My pleasure. I hope everyone has a great 2024.